Well, hello everyone, and welcome to my live about boundaries. We'll give everybody a couple minutes, seconds here to log in, and then we'll go ahead and get started. I'm really excited about this topic. I got lots of positive feedback about people wanting to log in or about people wanting to kind of watch the replay. Boundaries is really a critical topic, and I'm really excited to talk about it with all of you today. Just give everybody another minute here. Go ahead and get started. Hopefully everyone out there is having a beautiful day in San Francisco. It's warm, which is always a bonus. We kind of stay in between this like 20-degree delta. And so when it's at the top end of that delta, it's really joyous. I'm appreciative of that. All right, well, let's get started. So I am Brandi Michelle, and I am a happiness coach. And I love this role. You know, everyone knows the quote unquote fundamentals of how to be happy. You know, there's things like meditation, gratitude practice, prioritizing relationships that mean the most to you. But a lot of people are still unhappy. And so I teach people how to apply the core fundamentals in a way that actually works for them. I have a really special gift of helping people bring their awareness to that which is unknown and interfering with them truly being happy. And this allows people who have checked all the boxes of success and achievement to finally cultivate true happiness. That's what I do and who I am. And I really want to welcome you to today's live session on the importance of having boundaries. I'm excited to share some insights and some practical tips on how you can create healthy boundaries in your life. Boundaries are something that I have struggled with in the past, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, but I'd love to start with just kind of giving an overview of like, what are boundaries and why do they matter? And so boundaries are really kind of these mental, emotional, or physical boundaries, right? Like space that we create between ourselves and others, or ourselves and things, in a way of really protecting our energy. And there are these limits that we set from this place of love. I think that oftentimes boundaries get confused because we have these conversations around kind of like, I'm not going to speak to this person, or I don't want to be around these people. And we say it from this place of anger. And we really get to that place because we have for too long let them kind of invade our personal space. And so what we need to do, what will be beneficial to all of us, is take this step back and set the boundaries early. And then you can do it from this place of love, because anytime that we take actions from a place of love, we're going to get much, much better outcomes. And I see in the chat here, Brandon, you've joined. Thank you so much for listening. I'd love to hear your feedback at the end. So we set these boundaries out of love. And one reason why we always have to have this conversation about boundaries is because, through no fault of our own, we're taught when we're really little how to prioritize others. When you think about it, we are taught how to treat others kind of as our primary goal. And when your focus is outward, then you're oftentimes going to make concessions about what feels good to you as a means of appeasing others. So we kind of sit in this space where we're seeking to make other people happy and not prioritizing our own joy. And from that space, we actually are inadvertently like making ourselves less and less happy over time. And so when we set boundaries out of love, we actually demonstrate to ourselves how much we love ourselves, but we also teach the world and the universe how we want to be loved and what we expect from the world. And so it is actually a gift both to yourself and to the universe to really set these boundaries from this place of love. So I think that it's important to note that kind of energy cannot be created or destroyed. So when we think about energy from this perspective of setting boundaries, we realize that the more energy that we spend doing actions or being with people that don't serve us in this really positive way, then we have kind of energy allocated to that. And then we can't use this beautiful, bright energy to create the life of our dreams. And so all of these topics that I speak about are kind of in service uh, to you living a life of purpose, to you living the life of your dreams. And these are lessons that I too learned the hard way. I used to be a person who wasn't very good at setting boundaries. And so I would kind of get to the edge and then I would blow up. And then when you're in this place of like anger, you can't even see the forest for the trees. And that's kind of where you get to this place of really impacting relationships in a negative way, versus if we set goals kind of at the outset and we tell people kind of what our expectations are in terms of the relationship and how we want to interact with them, then we're more likely to really be in this beautiful space where we'll never blow up because we've set the ground rules early, right? And so I tell people all the time that you can have whatever rules you want about interacting with people, but it's important that you share it with other people, right? So, for example, if you have rules about how you want people to act in your home, or how or what time of day you would like people to call people, or when you're available to respond to emails, all of these things are fine. These are boundaries that we should and can take, but it's really important that we have these beautiful conversations with other people around kind of the how of interacting with you, right? And this is like this beautiful way to protect your energy. And so there's three type of boundaries I wanted to talk about. Really, the first is kind of this mental boundaries, then there's emotional boundaries, and then there are these physical boundaries. So mental boundaries might take place not really with another human being. Your mental boundaries might really be from this place of what information are you willing to take into your life. So, for example, many of you who know me know that I don't watch the news, and I very, very rarely watch television. And usually, if I do, I will watch like documentaries or something that's really joyful and positive. And that for me is really allows me to kind of stay in this high vibration space, right? So as you all know, the news normally focuses on kind of these low vibration incidents that are happening in the community and the world at large. And so when you take that in both visually as well as oratorily, then you're going to really impact your life kind of in this really big way. We all are emotional beings, and when we're taking this in, we're going to be prone to really lowering our own vibration energetically. And so for me, that's been a boundary that's been really good for me. And not everyone may need that. I do find that as people kind of move on their healing journey, that usually serves people well. But you just need to check in and say, kind of, what are the mental boundaries that I need that will really protect my space, right? And then there's emotional boundaries, right? And so oftentimes we can be in community with people and people will be sharing in a way kind of around what is going on in their lives, and if they have kind of a lot of negative energy surrounding them, they can bring that to you, right? And so you have to ask yourself, do you want to consistently make yourself available to that type of energy? And it's not in a way that you're not a good friend or that you're not able to be there for people, but just in a way that you really are carving out how much you can make yourself available, and also to who, right? So if you let every human that comes into your life really share kind of where things aren't going well for them, kind of their emotional baggage, then you're going to be building up your own emotional baggage, right? And so it's not that we don't listen to them because we don't love them. It's that we set this boundary because we really love ourselves. And then there's physical boundaries, right? So what types of environments do you want to be in? What type of people do you allow into your environment? All of these things really serve us, right? setting these like really beautiful boundaries for ourselves to say kind of, this is the energy that I am accepting into my life, and this is the energy that I want to be available for. And so when we set that beautiful intention and then we follow it up kind of in words and deeds, then we're going to see that we really make more space in our own consciousness to live the life of our dreams. And I know sometimes, like, I always talk about living the life of our dreams, and it sounds bold and audacious, but it really is. It's the goal of this lifetime, right? You wouldn't have your dreams if you weren't meant to live them. And these are the steps that we need to take to really align with those goals. I'm going to pause here. I just want to let people know, if you have any comments that you want to share, any examples of creating boundaries in your life that you would like to make me aware of, I'd love to hear them. Also, if there's any questions, just go ahead and put them in the chat. You can put them in the chat if you're listening live now, or if you're listening later, we'll definitely come back and read these, and we'll make sure to answer all the questions in the chat. Awesome. So the next thing I just wanted to share is really how do we communicate our boundaries? And so we want to really communicate with a place of love. As I was stating earlier, you don't want to get to this place where you blow up, right? Because you've just kind of sat back and you've taken in and taken in and taken in, and not really being a good steward of your own energy, right? And so there's this idea of being a people pleaser. And how do we move out of being a people pleaser, someone who kind of orients their life towards the other, to really orienting your life back to caring for yourself? And so from this space, then we really want to just share with people kind of what we are or aren't available for. I one time, was out with a friend, and this friend kind of spent the evening, not really, it was this really interesting way of really commenting on the negativity of other people, which I feel like sometimes in these healing circles, like we mask negativity as positivity. Like, oh, I wish they were more positive, right? And so for me, at the end of the evening, that was still really draining for me to be in this situation, this scenario where there was kind of constant judgment of other people and their level of positivity or lack of positivity. And so at the end of the evening, I just said, this really, I know that you were talking about the importance of being positive, etc., but the commentary kind of across your life and the number of people who are negative, that really presented to me still as kind of being this negative outlook. And so we want to make sure that we are just able to clearly share that with people. And it was fine. Like, we continued to be friends, like we moved on, but this person just really knew kind of in that moment that I didn't want to have those types of conversations. Those conversations are still really draining to me. Right. And so you need to communicate to people, and we communicate, like I said, from this place of love, and we're not communicating that they are being malicious or that they're intentionally kind of draining your energy. But we communicate because otherwise people don't know. Right. I think we expect people to know, or people to understand kind of the threshold that we have set for ourselves, or our ability, right? But people have no view into your life or what is happening. And so it's really important that you make them aware, right? And so this helps you to maintain your inner and outer high vibration, right? And it also allows you to convey to them like who you are and how you want to show up in the world. And we get there before we get to this place of being mean, right? We're just using our own self-awareness to gauge kind of what we're available for. And as we move along this continuum of kind of better aligning with the highest version of ourselves, we may be able to take more. We may have this ability to be more patient with others, this ability to really kind of listen to to people as they kind of share their grief, their, complaints or things of that nature. We may be more available to that, as we heal. But early on in our healing journey, like protecting that our peace will be of the utmost importance. And then I would just say, like, have grace with yourself, right? So when you're in a space where kind of you move out of that space and you're like, man, that didn't go as planned. That didn't really feel good to me. I didn't do a great job of conveying kind of what I was and was not available for. And I'm leaving this space kind of in a bad place. So you don't want to take it out on them, which we stated earlier, but you also don't want to take it out on yourself, right? Like you want to just have a lot of grace with yourself and say, what is the lesson that I learned? How am I going to interact the next time with this person and set this really beautiful boundary, right? So the more and more that we focus on loving ourselves, right, by setting these beautiful boundaries, by having grace with ourselves when we don't set them in a way that lands with other people, the more that we can be in that space of loving ourselves, again, we teach the universe how to love us, right? And so, again, we're turning this idea on their head that we treat other people the way that we want to be treated. What we know for sure is that the more that you love yourself, the more you demonstrate outwardly your love for you, the happier you'll be. And the happier you are, it's inevitable that you'll treat other people really well, right? And so that's why I always teach people, if you focus on your own joy, you will always bring joy to every encounter, because you cannot fill from an empty cup. And if you are attempting to fill from an empty cup, you're just not going to be in a place of love or a place of joy. I did receive a question about how to navigate kind of boundaries in a workplace, right? So you're in a workplace, you have to be professional, you have to interact with these people over and over and over again. And perhaps you're feeling that that the environment is toxic to you, or it's not really serving you very well. And so this is a great question because it comes up very often. And this is a place where you do need to maintain your composure, that you need to have kind of peace. And so 3 things that I want to share with you. Like, one, like, prior to going out into your day, really pausing to set an intention of how that experience will go. The unfortunate reality is the more and more you have these negative experiences at work, the more you set your mind as you leave your day to go to work. You're setting your mind that what the experience will be like, right? So you have this assumption that today will be like yesterday. And the brain is so incredibly powerful that if you go into the day with this belief that the situation is going to be challenging for you, then you're going to have more challenging days than positive. And so I really invite people to wake up and to start their day from this place of peace with this assumption that it can be a really beautiful day, because every moment has the opportunity to be new and different. And so knowing that it can be and setting an intention that it will be a beautiful day, more likely than not, you can start to shift on this axis the experiences that you encounter. I tell everyone it only takes one person to change a relationship, right? And so as you start to make yourself no longer available to kind of that toxic experience, over time, you're going to see this really beautiful shift. So the first thing is really setting this intention. The second thing is doing your very, very best, even when it seems to not be true, to assume positive intention, right? And so you assume positive intention and you ask people, right? So if there's kind of this sarcasm or friction in the workplace, from this really kind of open and honest place, you want to ask people what their intention was. Oh, what makes you say that? Oh, I feel as though you're upset today. Is there something that I've done? is there a way that we can make this better, right? So if you go in really asking these beautiful open-ended questions about how you can help them to shift and how you are committed to shifting, then people will feel that energy, right? Because when you bring positive energy to a place, it inevitably trumps those dense negative energy, right? And so over time, as you grow kind of in your energy and your outlook on the scenario, you are then going to more likely than not receive back this positive energy. It's inevitable, right? And then the third thing is kind of once you've been able to shift your energy around the situation and have this kind of positive expectation, positive intent of how the day will go, you assume positive intent from others and ask these really open-ended questions about how you can move along the continuum. And then the third is then to really, start to have conversations about how you want to interact at work, what you want your work experience to look like, and what you're available for. And then as you do this, you're going to really start to see a shift, right? And the goal is to be consistent, right? So you being consistent in your expectations, then the world has to rise to meet those expectations, right? So if you think in every interaction, the world is meeting you right where you expect it to be. And so you have expectations of having these really beautiful experiences in your life. And I'm a testament that those beautiful experiences will start to come to you without a doubt. And so in closing, what I wanted to share is really this beautiful idea that as we start to set these boundaries that we set from this place of kind of sharing with people what we're available for, blocking out mentally things that will affect our mind, creating physical boundaries around situations that we know won't serve us, then we will start to have these really beautiful energetic boundaries, and we will no longer even need to voice what we are or not available for. The other day I was driving with a friend and she said, well, what do you do when people snap at you? And I literally said to her, well, that hasn't happened to me in years because I am no longer available for that, right? And so my consciousness, my awareness is no longer such that I am available for situations like that. And so they don't come into my life, right? And so the more you know that you get to broadcast to the universe what you are and are not available for, and that as we do that, our brain is fiercely seeking to make it true on our behalf, then you know that these boundaries will start to serve you in this really beautiful way, which is why I started with the fact that boundaries are beautiful and we create them from this place of love. And we know that it's going to provide us more high vibration, beautiful energy that makes us available to live life of purpose, to be fulfilled in our everyday, and to ultimately become happier and happier and happier. And so when you approach it from that perspective, that loving yourself and being the happiest version of you is how you contribute to the world in a most beautiful way. Imagine if there were 8 billion truly, deeply, wonderfully happy humans. What an amazing world it will be. So I'd love to hear from all of you as you move from this live around kind of the boundaries that you've set. If you have any questions or listening to this later, please share it in the comments. And I'll really look forward to hearing from each of you about boundaries. If you guys are new to Brandi Michelle, I do publish what I call my journal entries on the 1st and 15th of every month. So there's one coming up here in 4 days. So you can sign up for those at my website, www.brandymichelle.com. And you can also find me on Instagram, on YouTube, LinkedIn, as well as Twitter, all at Brandi Michelle. So I'll look forward to continuing the conversation. And thank you so much to each and every one of you for joining me today. Prioritize joy. With love. Bye.